Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice Adu. The news is also live on Kasmi 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Accra High Court dismisses New Patriotic Party's injunction application seeking to halt the conduct of the July 11 election rerun in 19 polling stations in Ablekuma North constituency in the Greater Accra region. Also coming up, government announces the official cancellation of MPP administration's flagship One District, One Factory, 1D, 1F initiative. And much later on the program, ENI to temporarily shut down its gas processing plant for essential repair works aimed at boosting gas production. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Now, the High Court has dismissed the New Patriotic Party's NPP's injunction application seeking to halt the July 11 election rerun in the Ablekuma North constituency of the Greater Accra region. In an ex-party application, the party sought to restrain the Electoral Commission (EC) from proceeding with a rerun in 19 out of 281 polling stations following a dispute over the outcome. Lawyers for the NPP's parliamentary candidate Nana Ekuafriye asked the court to grant a 10-day injunction against the EC pending the determination of a substantive case. Nana Ekuafriye filed the legal action despite her party's decision not to participate in the upcoming election. And shortly, we'll be going to the Accra High Court, where our court affairs correspondent, Lord Edward Sari, has been monitoring events for us. He'll be bringing us the latest from the court. But ahead of that, the governing National Democratic Congress says it is ready to participate in Friday's polls. Rashid Tanko Computer, the NDC's Deputy Director of Elections and IT, shared the party's stance with us earlier.
We are ready for the election come 11th, Friday. As I speak to you now, I'm just coming from an engagement with the electorate in Ablekuma North, the 19 polling station. In fact, we had a very beautiful engagement tonight led by our venerable national chairman, Honorable Asidun Ketia, and other party leaders. We had serious engagement with them. We are preparing for the election. We want to give MPP a befitting defeat come Friday. Look, Alfred, they are not telling Ghanaians the truth, and we must face it. Alfred, you remember all along, we as a party, the NDC, we've been talking about 62 polling stations, outstanding 62 polling stations. We had two major meetings with the Electoral Commission, of which the MPP fully participated.
And he had there Dr. Rashid Tanko Computer. He is NDC's Deputy Director of Elections and IT. Now, the Minister for Trade and Agribusiness and Industry, Elizabeth Ofosu-Adjare, has confirmed that the government has cancelled the One District, One Factory initiative, an industrialization policy that was established by the past administration. Along with the cancellation of the policy, she indicated that the policy failed to provide the necessary incentives, but added that the ministry has ventured into agro-processing parks and that the 24-hour economic policy that the Timan North legislature touted the government flagship 24-hour economic policy as the game changer and one that seeks to make the country more vibrant. She was answering a question in Parliament about the specific incentives and investment promotion packages being deployed to attract private sector investment given the cancellation of the One District, One Factory initiative.
We are ready for the election come 11th, Friday. As I speak to you now, I'm just coming from an engagement with the electorate in Ablekuma North, the 19 polling station. In fact, we had a very beautiful engagement tonight led by our venerable national chairman, Honorable Asidun Ketia, and other party leaders. We had serious engagement with them. We are preparing for the election. We want to give MPP a befitting defeat come Friday. Look, Alfred, they are not telling Ghanaians the truth. And we must face it. Alfred, you remember all along, we are ready for the...
We do apologize for that, Ronku. We'll bring you the minister's sound very quickly, but let's bring in the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, Mustafa Bande. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for having me.
I'm sure you've heard the information that the court has dismissed that injunction application filed by the MPP's parliamentary candidate for the Ablekuma North constituency. Your reaction?
Well, we all know that the action by the MPP are full of frivolity, vexatiousness. There's no way you restrain the Electoral Commission from giving fidelity to the law. You can't stop the Electoral Commission from giving fidelity to the law. You know, the only way that can happen is in a banana republic. And the MPP knew that the action they are commencing is not really seeking a remedy in court, but an action to cover up for the unfitness to participate in the election. While they are in court, they are in Ablekuma trying to test their popularity there. They are campaigning, except to say that they know that there's no way they will win that election. They know that their candidate is not a misfit and a mismatch. On public record, having done things wrong to disgrace the Republic of Ghana. They know that. And they know that the NDC's candidate is a strong candidate. Because that constituency, the MPP have been there for some time. They've abused the goodwill, and we have won that seat. They tried to frustrate it, but the rule is that we have won. And Friday's election will just give manifestation of what the people contemplated on doing. You can't take that candidate by the MPP to Parliament. It will be a mockery. Complete mockery. A woman who was involved in visa racketeering, you want to take her to Parliament in a developing constituency like Ablekuma North? Please, the MPP knows that in terms of organization, they are not well organized to participate in any election. Even their own meetings, when they go, they stab people knives. The last meeting they tried to hold after 20th December to the December election, it was murderous, blood was shed. They know they are disintegrated and they cannot participate in the election. They also know that the NDC is solid and intact. We are going into that election in one accord. They also know that for the sake of good governance, that the stability of this country is a testament of the NDC's goodness. There's no way Ghanaians will vote for them. So what people are Ghanaians.
What you're saying in your usage of the cover-up is like the MPP behaving like ostriches, knowing that they might not get the seats and just go into court. That's what you're claiming.
They are behaving like hardened witches who kill people and pretend that they are crying. That is what the MPP is doing.
But the NDC
they know what they have done is unforgivable. They know what Nanado and his ills did against the people of Ghana is unforgivable, is unforgettable. Lives have been lost. They've tortured the people of this country. That if we should hold any election, they will not win. That is why they are doing all this. And the courts have spoken. That is there's justice on the street.
I'm sure yesterday you might have monitored, or in the course of the week, you might have monitored that press conference by the MPP, the General Secretary Justin Frimpong Kodia, saying the party wasn't going to participate in any rerun. That was aside from the court situation. You are a Democratic Party. Indeed, the name of the party suggests so. Aren't you concerned that you have an election with two major parties and one is deciding not to participate?
And so they are not important to our democratic process. If you give credence to the wrongs they have committed against the people of Ghana, President Akufo-Addo and his 8 years regime was a national fraud in the conscience of the people of Ghana. It's unforgivable, it's unforgettable. So if they decide that they are not participating in election, so be it. When we didn't go for Ejiso, they went alone. Was that not democracy? So if they say they are not going, it's good job for us. We will win anyway if they were part. By not being part is just the fact that they don't want to receive double shame. It will further discredit their party, so they don't want to be part of it. But we are going there. We are already on the ground. we are campaigning, we'll win the seat. The MPP pretend they won't participate in the election, but they were in that constituency holding press conferences.
We'll have to end it here. Thank you very much, Mustafa Gbande. He's Deputy General Secretary of the governing NDC. Let's speak to Lord Adwasari, Court Affairs correspondent. Lord, if you can bring us an update of what transpired in court and perhaps reactions to the latest ruling. Lord, can you hear us?
Beatrice, come again. What did you say?
I was asking you to bring us what transpired in court and the reactions that followed after the ruling.
Right. So basically, the lawyers for Naneke Ifi, the MPP parliamentary candidate for Ablik Manos, he was arguing in court that the Electoral Commission, by virtue of their directive or their decision to carry out a rerun this Friday, is in direct contravention with the High Court earlier orders for them to collate and then declare the result. So Gary essentially added some exhibits by way of evidence in support of the interim injunction, cited the fact that the Electoral Commission in various communications, press releases, and even an appearance on the floor of Parliament by Deputy EC Chair Dr. Nasari told the whole world, told the entire nation that they were not going to carry out a rerun, and indeed was left with 3 outstanding polling stations, and they sought the security, or they sought the House of Legislature to get them security. And basically, you recall that when Botman was in Parliament, he indicated that they needed security to finalize the collation of the 3 polling stations. And so it came as a surprise when the Electoral Commission again came forward to say that they were elected 19 polling stations, for which reason they were going to carry out a rerun. He indicated that according to the Electoral Commission, there was a meeting between the parties and they couldn't come to an agreement. And so to break the tie, they decided to now carry out a rerun for the 19 polling stations. He indicated that this was wrong, and so he was praying the court to pending the determination of their sexuality, which they are part of the latest court, the court should grant them a 10-day injunction to serve the Electoral Commission and all the parties involved, especially the Electoral Commission, to explain to the court why they chose to, as it were, not heed or oblige the directive of the High Court to collate and declare the results, and then they have rather indicated that they're going to have a rerun. But after listening to his arguments, the presiding judge in the matter, Justice Ali Baba Abati, indicated that, well, their honest lies on the Electoral Commission. They have the entire power. But even before he could continue, that he indicated that their injunction application was unmeritorious. Before he indicated that in the event that Namibia wins the successive case, the Electoral Commission, as a finger, he put it, of the executive arm of government, is well equipped to compensate her in damages in case she wins that successive case basis. And so basically that's what transpired. What this means is that the Electoral Commission has been given the green light to carry out the rerun on Friday, and so I'm sure they're calling for security, and so they're expecting tight security on that front. And once this was done, try to get the reaction from Gary Namathon, the lead counsel for Namibia, and even Namibia herself, but both of them refused to speak.
But what was her demeanor? What was her demeanor? Just very briefly, in that, like 30 seconds.
Exactly. It was because of their demeanor that they were very upset. Both of them, both Gary and Namika. Namika, she looked visibly upset. You could see that she had some sort of a frown even. Gary just walked to his car, tried to pose questions to him. He just refused to answer them. Just raised his hand and said that, look, he saw what happened in court, and that was it for him. Namika was just parading to her vehicle, visibly upset with what had transpired in court today.
Thank you very much, Lord Edwasare. He's our Court Affairs correspondent. I did promise you that we will bring you the sound of the Minister for Trade, Agri, Business and Industry, Elizabeth Ofosu-Adjare, confirming the cancellation of the One District, One Factory initiative. Listen to it.
Mr. Speaker, I want to draw my colleagues' kind attention to the fact that as of now, there is no policy as 1D, 1F. I thank you. But in the absence of 1D, 1F, the ministry is into agro-processing parks. And so if you listen to the 24-hour economy launch, the 24-hour economy is the new thing on the block, the game changer, that which seeks to make Ghana very vibrant, irrespective of the minutes of the hour, the time of the day. And we are doing agro parks. And these agro parks, which seeks to be a great game changer, especially in the agro processing zones, are being worked on to ensure that we are able to produce more around the clock for import substitution.
And you heard the Minister for Trade and Agro-Business, Elizabeth Ofosu-Adjare. Now, ENI will temporarily shut down its gas plant on Sunday, the 13th of July, for essential repair works aimed at boosting gas production to approximately 270 million standard cubic feet per day. The Minister for Energy and Green Transition, John Jinapor, confirmed the scheduled maintenance, acknowledging that the shutdown may result in temporary power outages. He, however, urged the public to remain patient, emphasizing that the upgrade is necessary to enhance long-term energy reliability for Ghanaians. Let's speak to the spokesperson of the Energy Ministry, Richmond Roxon. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Good afternoon.
Thank
you for having me.
Are you able to tell us what specific repairs or upgrades will be carried out during the shutdown? Mr. Roxon, it looks like your line is breaking. If you could kindly reposition yourself so we're able to hear you well.
Hello, can you hear me?
Kindly go ahead, yes.
Yes. I'm saying that yesterday the information put out by the Minister of Energy and Green Transition was that there's an upgrade by ENI, which will give us more gas. What it is that currently ENI produces about 240 million standard cubic feet. We're expecting 30 million standard cubic feet more, which will take the entire gas supply to 270 million scuff. This will be done on Sunday. That's what the schedule is. And we're expecting that right after we'll have enough gas supply to improve on our power production.
How long will the shutdown last for?
We're expecting it to be 4 to 6 hours. Within that period, you're going to have temporal or little to no disruptions at all. The minister, together with the stakeholders, have put together a plan, and we don't expect any significant interruptions of power supply at the time.
4 to 6 hours, and it will be for how many days, for instance?
No, hours, not days. We expect the works to be completed that same day.
All right.
Good
Okay, thank you very much. And that was Richmond Roxon. He speaks for the Energy Ministry. Some 19 minutes past the hour of 12. When we come back, we'll bring you some more. Don't go away.
Hello, Ghana. It's a new year and Bills Microcredit is here to support your dreams. If you're not working but want to start a business, don't let money stop you. With just your Ghana card, you can get a loan to turn your ideas into reality. Already running a business? Need more capital? Or are you a salary worker looking for extra funds? Bills offers fast and easy loans with no collateral, no deposit, and no SUSI savings required. Wherever you are, whatever you need, Bills makes it happen. Call Bills Microcredit today. Call 0596 920 833 or 0302 200 390 and get started. Bills is licensed and regulated by the Bank of Ghana. Bills, financing your needs. Terms and conditions apply.
Freezer, yeah, diaba. Adama for diaba. Freezer. Adama, a sementia. Adama. Metimosua, my sorry. Canino, Obo Moasia. I do fresh the Nobium Unum and San last night. I don't know what we did. Adama for you from what we say. Yet, the Drubacope, a ship we be a high technology. I could for freezer. When Kwan, and once open your 15 letters. No fugum, what ya no fugum. What the boss here, if we be any of us, you, equity self, over Timono. Then we sure say, woman sure task here. Then what's enough for now? No, freezer, power up a day. Freezer, Dacia, a bastion do so among Ammoniaji. To me, me what's it car? To me, but you may not do a some doom. Adama, with that Adama, no, Adama, you can't resist.
Ubenya Adama West Africa for a dream, or baby bear a tongue cry on who you. I say, Kayona Kenkai in Choya, a dream.
And you're still here on the Medani's on 3FM 92.7. Thank you very much for staying. Now, former director of the Ghana School of Law, Kwekwan Sansari, says there has been no violation of the rights of the suspended Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu. He says that the Chief Justice has not exhausted all internal processes for seeking remedies before taking the matter to the ECOWAS court. Suspended Chief Justice Gertrude Saki Tokonu on July 4 filed a case against the Republic of Ghana at the ECOWAS Court of Justice alleging human rights violations. Lawyer Sansari believes that the justice should have exhausted all processes locally before seeking intervention from the sub-regional court.
The president has respected the constitution and actually acted in accordance with the provisions of the constitution. There has been no clear case of violation of any human rights of Lady Tokonu. The president has not breached any rule. If anything at all, the president has observed, the framework that the framers of the constitution put in place, that if you receive a petition, these are the constitutional steps you should take. And on each pathway, you have to respect, the will of the people as enshrined in the Constitution. The president has done that. It is the Chief Justice who has created a condition of rendering the process, impracticable.
And you have the former director of the Ghana School of Law. Meanwhile, private legal practitioner Kwame Akofo says he disagrees with some rulings of the Chief Justice, but that's not the ground for impeachment. He also says he doesn't believe Madam Tokonu brought misfortune to herself.
The comparatives are not necessarily an ingredient for impeachment. Those comparatives are not necessarily an ingredient for impeachment. We go to court on every occasion and we get rulings against us. I disagree with the Chief Justice in respect of a ruling when they gave there was an ex parte application and the application was granted to run till the end of the case. I disagreed with her. But those are not ingredients for impeachment because judges have the power to go right and have the power to go wrong. We go to court sometimes, we put forward very good cases, we lose. You may complain in the comfort of your office, but that does not necessarily become an ingredient for an impeachment process. On the parliamentary one, with respect to the speaker back when
yes.
The Chief Justice took a position in court, which I disagreed with, especially in respect of the application for injunction. I disagree that it was said ex parte. I thought there was substantial time for people to have been put on notice. I thought that it was unnecessary for the court to be engaged in an existing confrontation with Parliament, especially as we approached an election period. It gave us very, very tense situation to the environment, the political environment at that time. But that is not to say that these are ingredients for impeachment.
So you agree that it was an interference?
I wouldn't say it was an interference. It was a constitutional interpretation which did not favor the parliamentary branch of government. I wouldn't call it an interference. Otherwise, persons who do not disagree with the decision to form an attorney general or judgments, I will call it an interference. Ever since.
And you heard that lawyer Kwame Akofo, he's a private legal practitioner, in that exclusive interview with me earlier. Now, President John Mahama has unveiled an ambitious vision for Ghana's maritime future, highlighting national security, economic opportunity, and regional cooperation as key pillars for growth and resilience. The announcement was made at the 4th International Maritime Defense Exhibition and Conference held at Burma Camp, where the Chief of Staff, Julius Debra, delivered a speech on behalf of the President.
We are exploring various avenues to equip the Navy with offshore patrol vessels and fast patrol boats to augment existing platforms. These efforts will undoubtedly yield positive outcomes in the reduction of piracy incidents and IUU activities along our coast with the exclusive economic zones or within the exclusive economic zone. Additionally, as part of our 8-pillar strategy under the National Research Agenda, Ghana aims to become West Africa's premier regional hub for trade and investment. This will be more possible through port expansions, industrial corridors being strengthened to connect local businesses with the African Continental Free Trade Area. You all agree with me that success of this strategy is therefore dependent on security and stability in the region, and more specifically within our maritime space.
And you had the Chief of Staff, Julius Deborah. Over 750,000 hectares of land has been destroyed by activities of illegal mining. That is according to the acting executive director of the Peasant Farmers Association, Michael Owusu-Norte. He says the situation is having impact on the livelihoods of farmers. He was contributing to a discussion on metallic poisoning of Ghana's food chain on Agenda on TV3 last night.
That the Galamsey has led to the destruction of a lot of our farmlands. In fact, at our last count, we're talking of over 750,000 hectares of lands that have been destroyed by illegal mining. Then we also know about the water bodies that have been polluted, and the fact that if you go to a lot of the mining areas, you realize that farms that are located near these mining areas, the farmers are unable to use the water that are close to the farms just because those waters have been heavily polluted and they are unfit for agricultural purposes. On top of that, because of the, if you want, the profitable nature of the Galamsey, you have a lot of the youths who are supposed to be either in school or in mining, in school or in farming. You see they rather move to do illegal mining. So all these factors have had a very devastating effect on the work that we do.
And you had that Michael Owusu-Norte. He's executive director, acting executive director of the Peasant Farmers Association, speaking earlier on Agenda on TV3 last night. Commuters plying the Ofanko in Soham Road are bearing the brunt of its deplorable condition as commercial transport operators continue to charge exorbitant fares for their services. The drivers say the situation is expected to worsen if contractors do not return to complete the stalled project. Here's a report by Stanley Ni Bleu.
Construction works on the Ofanko-Soham Road is steadily progressing, particularly from Ofanko to Amasaman, where asphalt works have been completed and pedestrian footbridges are being mounted at strategic points. However, beyond Amasaman, the situation takes a stark turn. Motorists are compelled to navigate a severely dilapidated stretch, hampering smooth travel and exposing road users to daily stress and danger. The construction is being handled by Maripoma Enterprise Limited, a local firm. But complaints abound regarding the slow pace of work beyond Amasaman, with traders encroaching on the road's median and abandoned vehicles further worsening the condition. Passengers say they are the worst hit as commercial drivers exploit the bad road to charge exorbitant fares.
At
times, we are forced to charge higher expenses because each trip often results in vehicle damage due to poor road network. The cost of spare parts is high, so the increased fare helps cover these repair expenses. Commercial transport operators charge varying fares, which is a concern for passengers.
During the news team's visit, rainfall had temporarily subdued the dust that typically pollutes commuters.
Stanley Nibleo filed that report. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us today. Log on to shrenews.com for more news. Coming up next is Business Daily with Bismarck Awusa. Stay with us.
Mark your calendars. It's the 3FM Baby Fair happening live on the 11th to the 13th of July at Marina Mall Airport City in Accra from 10 a.m. and it's absolutely free. From baby essentials and kids wear to toys, skincare, education material, and so much more. Shop amazing deals on a wide range of childcare products all under one roof. Don't miss our sessions with the Ghana Pediatric Society and all the amazing mums with the Mum Circle, a safe space for young mothers to share tips and connect. And there will be fun activities for the kids with our Kids Corner, games for the family, good food, and great vibes all around. To be a vendor, please call 0531 100 927 or 0532 200 927. It's the 3FM Baby Fair, your one-stop event for all your childcare needs. Proudly sponsored by You Fresh Drinks and Fidelity Bank.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to Business Daily on 3FM 92.7. Coming up this afternoon, Institute of Economic and Research Policy Promotion, IERPP, reiterates warnings as IMF criticizes Ghana's forex market interventions and calls for greater exchange rate flexibility. Also ahead, majority of Ghanaian CEOs more optimistic about long-term business survival than global peers despite modest revenue gains from model shifts. Will bring you details of a new PwC survey. And financial economist Dr. Eric Wache-Yadom calls for increased local participation in 24-hour economy program.
These foreign investors, when they come in at the end of the year, all the profit that are made, they repatriate it, and that affects our currency vulnerability.
These stories and others lined up for you. Please stay. I am Bismarck. Let's settle now for the details. The Institute of Economic and Research Policy Promotion, IERPP, says recent concerns raised by the International Monetary Fund, IMF, over Ghana's handling of the foreign exchange market confirm long-standing warnings it issued about government's interference in the cedi's value. The think tank believes the IMF's latest review has vindicated its earlier caution that the central bank's frequent dollar injections were unsustainable and harmful to long-term economic stability. There is more in the following 3 Business News Desk report. A local economic think tank is raising fresh concern following the International Monetary Fund's warning to government over how it's managing the cedi. The Institute of Economic and Research Policy Promotion, IERPP, says the IMF's caution aligns with earlier advice it gave, urging government to move away from aggressive dollar injections that interfere with natural exchange rate movements. In its 4th program review, the IMF advised the Bank of Ghana to scale back its interventions and adopt a formal foreign exchange policy that allows for greater market flexibility. The IERPP, in a statement signed by Executive Director Professor Isaac Boidi, noted that short-term efforts to stabilize the cedi may ease pressure temporarily, but risk creating deeper imbalances in the economy encouraging cheap imports and discouraging local production. The group says the absence of a clear and transparent FX intervention framework has created uncertainty and speculation in the market and is urging government to reconsider its approach before long-term damage is done. And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Moving on, a new report by global consulting firm PwC has revealed a surprising upswing in optimism among business leaders in Ghana, with 64% of chief executive officers expressing confidence that their companies will remain successful for over a decade if they stay the course with their current strategies. This figure surpasses the levels of optimism seen among CEOs across Africa and globally. The 28th annual CEO survey Ghana report, however, cautions that while Ghanaian CEOs appear to be making bold strategic moves, the resulting business impact measured in revenue growth lags behind their counterparts. The following 3 Business News Desk report has more. A growing number of chief executive officers in Ghana believe their businesses can stand the test of time if they stick with their current plans. That's according to the 28th annual CEO survey Ghana report by PwC, which shows that 64% of CEOs in Ghana are confident their companies will remain viable beyond the next 10 years. That figure is notably higher than the 52% of CEOs across Africa and 55% globally who share the same optimism. The report describes this confidence as a significant turnaround in CEO sentiment over just 12 months, despite growing global business threats. Analysts believe the surge in optimism may be driven by deliberate efforts by Ghanaian business leaders to adapt and future-proof their business models. Indeed, more CEOs in Ghana say they have expanded beyond their traditional industries over the past 5 years, outpacing peers on the continent and globally. However, PwC says these bold moves have yet to translate into strong revenue gains. Ghanaian CEOs report generating just 13% of revenue from new business extensions, well below the 20% reported by their African counterparts and 22% globally. And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Now, a fellow at the Africa Policy Lens, Dr. Eric Beatrice Adu, has called for increased local participation in the government's flagship 24-hour economy program. He argues that the dominance of foreign investors in the implementation of the government policies has not produced the desired outcomes, particularly in growing the local economy and stabilizing the city.
We have a problem in this country where every government agenda, we are looking for international or foreign investors to come in. But these foreign investors, when they come in, at the end of the year, all the profit that are made, they repatriate it, and that affects our currency vulnerabilities. So I think in this project, government should show commitment to support local businesses to go into that field by treating those that are already on government project fairly, to give confidence that government, even when there's a change in government, there's a commitment that private funds will not be sacrificed in the interest of political gain. So the funding gap is a major challenge, and government have not shown an attitude of a certain commitment towards private businesses.
Dr. Eric Beatrice Adu has also emphasized the need for clear timelines and key performance indicators, KPIs, for the government's 24-hour economy program. This, he noted, would facilitate easy assessment and evaluation of the program's progress, enabling stakeholders to track its effectiveness and make informed decisions.
Is the project going to be implemented on a phased basis? We don't know. The project lack time frames and key metrics for measuring the output of the project. You know, government talks about creating about 1.7 million jobs. You know, when are the jobs going to be created? At every year, how much jobs will be created, or how many jobs will be created? Which sectors are the jobs going to be created? So key KPIs should be set, and key timelines should be set, so that we will know the direction that the government is heading towards. You should not create an impression that all our problems will be solved within this particular project. But when it comes to delivery and implementation, there are no structural or there are no systematic plan towards delivering the promise.
Dr. Eric Beatrice Adu is a financial economist at UPSA and a fellow of the Africa Policy Lens. In a related development, the Ghana Chamber of Construction Industries urging government to strengthen the financial capacity of local contractors to execute the 24-hour economy program. According to Chief Executive of the Chamber, Emmanuel Cherry, successive governments have weakened local contractors' capacity through delayed payments and low stated capital of commercial banks. He called on government to restore confidence in the Bank of Ghana's Interim Payment Certificate (IPC) as a receivable payment to help alleviate financial constraints faced by local contractors.
If we talk of engineering capacity we have, if we talk of equipment holding our people have, if we talk of manpower we have, the only challenge we have as a country is a financial engineering. Because the stated capital of commercial banks is 400 million Ghana cedis. Hypothetically, the redevelopment of the Motorway is over $500 million US. Compute it into Ghana cedis now. That tells you that you need almost 10 banks, commercial banks, to put together to be able to fund that project. How many of the banks will be ever ready to do that? So that tells you that automatically a local contractor going for that job becomes a challenge until government comes in. So these are some of the challenges that we are being faced. We presented a case before the Minister for Roads and Highways on an issue of IPC. IPC is a receivable instrument in the books of Bank of Ghana. But today, take your IPC and go to any of the commercial banks for discounting. Nobody wants to, because government upon government came and messed up the industry for us.
And that was Chief Executive of the Ghana Chamber of Construction Industry, Emmanuel Cherry, ending Business Daily on 3FM 92.7. For more business stories, please check out our website, 3news.com. I am Bismarck Osa. Thanks for your company.